Good afternoon. Appreciate you tuning in here as we continue this series of Lenten devotions this week. Hi, my name's Casey. I'm one of the pastors here, and it's my pleasure just to bring you a few thoughts on this day, this Friday. Today, of course, is Good Friday, and the irony, as I see it, is it's a day that's about as dark as it gets. A day devoted to remembering the absolute rejection, the abuse, the suffering of the person who's at the very center of our hope as Christians. So, what gives with that? That's an interesting way to celebrate one of the biggest times in the Christian faith. This day makes me not only a little sad, but uncomfortable, really, off center, the opposite of Christmas. I'm sure you remember that, or you remember just a few months ago, we had a candle lighting on Christmas Eve, literally singing about the light of the world, Jesus being wonderful counselor, mighty God. As Christians, we often think about Jesus' physical suffering today, rightfully so. Crucifixion is obviously terrible, but I also can't imagine the rejection, the humiliation, seeing his followers and friends scatter and leaving him isolated, followed by a very real death in those 3 days to follow, being separated from his Father. Why? Why was this God's plan? Because again, Jesus came to be the light, to move the kingdom forward, to make God known. But the sin of this world throughout history, including yours and mine today, had so permeated, so tarnished, fought against God's kingdom that Jesus was the sin offering that atoned for all of that. The entire point of him coming wasn't to teach or do miracles, but to bridge the distance between us and God. Just no one expected that to work that way. Jesus was always going to enter into our human experience. He is God in the flesh, of course. Just no one expected death to be one of the ways he related to us. No one could know that a mockery of a trial, this crucifixion, death, and evil would be a part of God's greater plan. And I still don't like that, but I think that's the point. It shouldn't sit well with us. Even though this was God's plan, it did not make things any less dark, and it was still very much an injustice. So it was bad for his followers that day. They had fear as they scattered from the authorities. They had things like depression and felt deflated. Maybe that's what we'd say today. And they asked questions like, did we follow the wrong person? Grief or trauma. How could it not be witnessing someone so dear to them, so abused, so mistreated? So how is any of this good? I have a few thoughts on that because I think there's hope. First, Jesus overcomes, but today is still bleak. Second, we don't understand light and joy without experiencing the opposite. So it gives us perspective. I would never comprehend God's goodness or know what hope feels like if I never struggled. And I don't like that fact, but that's a very true part of human nature for all of us. Yet another way, your Savior willingly endured the darkest things imaginable. He personally understands you and your struggles. There's nothing that could ever take him off guard. That's hope in that. So any dark thing, including your sin, he's capable of handling, and he's shown it by how he endured his own dark places. Fourth, God cares about the dark things and the pain in your life. Jesus has compassion. He sees you. He's not blind. He's not unconcerned. Don't underestimate how Jesus' own suffering ties into his caring about your own suffering. And finally, this is a great story of turning the tables. Do you like a story where the script gets flipped? You know, where what seemed impossible prevailed in the end, all hope was lost, but then the unimaginable happens? Well, in this case, even darkness. Satan himself, I do think, thought he'd prevailed, but he found out, like everyone else, that the light of God always conquers the imposters, the wannabe minions of the dark realm. I don't understand all of God's ways, and I won't this side of heaven, but I smile knowing he has shown that his authority and his plans are never threatened. Jesus said, in this world you'll have trouble, but rest assured, I have overcome the world. He was talking about his authority over everything, even the hard things. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We encourage you to please join us tonight. Vigil in the Garden at 6, our Good Friday Tenebrae service at 7. And both of those are designed to help us further understand and think through just what happened to Christ, but also the great love he has for each of us. So it's a dark day, but Sunday is coming. See you soon.